This is Shiloh Season, Chapter 3. Kids are always wild at school on Fridays, restless to get the weekend started, go poking along the bank of Middle Island Creek, maybe borrow someone's rowboat and row out to an island if the water's deep enough. Could wade across if it isn't. Funny, but as long as I can remember, Ma's called it the river. Dad told us soon as she laid eyes on it after he married her and brought her here. She says, "That's no creek to me. It's as wide as a river." So we kids forget sometimes and call it the river, too. On the bus going home, Michael Schultz got another story about Judd Travers getting in a fight down in Ben's Run a couple nights back. But I don't hear the end of it, because I get off with David Howard and Dara Lynn rides the rest of the way without me. I always feel a little strange at David Howard's. It's a big house, for one thing. All kinds of rooms in it. A whole room just for David. Another room for his father's books and a computer. Even a room for plants. I told Ma about that once, and she said if it was her house, she'd put some of those plants outside where they belong and make more room for people. Meals are fancier at David Howard's, too. The food doesn't taste any better than it does at home, but Mrs. Howard has placemats under all the plates and cloth napkins rolled up in plastic rings. The way I eat at David Howard's, I watch what everybody else does before I start in. His folks are nice, though. His dad works for the Tyler Star News and talks to me a lot about basketball, even though I like baseball better. He always forgets. Asks me about the New York Knicks when it's the White Sox I got my eye on. Mrs. Howard's a teacher, and she can't help herself. She sees something wrong, she corrects it. Shiloh don't like to see me climb on the bus each morning, I say at dinner, about the time she's passing out the dessert. He doesn't, Marty? She asks. He doesn't like to see you climb on the bus? No, he don't, I answer, my eyes on the chocolate pie. And then David giggles, and I know I goofed again. After dinner, David and me go outside and play kick the can with some other kids till after dark. And when we come in, Mr. Howard teaches me some moves on a chessboard. After that, we eat some more and watch a video, Homeward Bound. Then we take turns in the shower and have to mop up the floor. That night, I'm lying on the top bunk in David's room, and I can't believe I'm homesick. Thinking about my family, what they had for supper, whether or not the telephone rang and who answered, what crazy thing Grandma Preston done this time, and whether Shiloh's watching the door, waiting for me to come home. I'm thinking Ma will give him extra love tonight. She don't know this, but once, when Shiloh was healing his hurt leg, I woke real early in the morning from where I sleep on our couch, and across the room I saw my Ma in the rocking chair. She had Shiloh on her lap and was rocking and singing to that dog like he was a baby. I figure Ma's just getting herself ready for the day Becky, Dara Lynn, and me are grown and gone. Haven't heard a peep from David Howard for a while, down on the bottom bunk, and I figure he's probably already asleep. We played so hard and so long, he's a right to be tired. I wasn't, though. Hard to sleep with cars going by every few minutes, the beam from their headlights traveling along the wall. I'm laying there on my side, about to close my eyes, when suddenly this horrible face with red eyes and green lips pops right up beside me, not 5 inches from my face, and bobs up and down, a floating head. I yell. Can't help myself, and then David Howard's having a laughing fit down below. "Settle down, you guys," comes Mr. Howard's voice as he passes our door. I want to know how David did that, though, so I crawl down the ladder and push my way onto David's bed, punching his arm. David's got his head under the covers, he's laughing so hard. "How'd you do that?" I whisper. David shows me this rubber Halloween mask. He puts it on and holds a flashlight under his chin. Then, when he moves around, and all that's lit up is the mask, it looks like a floating head. I'm thinking how I can't wait to try that on Dara Lynn. We lay on our backs on David's bunk and talk some more about school and the story Michael Schultz was telling about Judd getting in a fight with someone. We talk about the way he's been drinking lately And I tell him Ma's guess, that Judd looks in the mirror and don't like what he sees. David raises up on one elbow. I can just make out his face in the dark. His eyes are wide open. "You know what that means," he says. "What?" "He's a vampire," David says, his eyes about to jump out of his head. Even when David knows it's crazy, his imagination still runs off with him. "You're nuts," I say. "Vampires hate mirrors. If they ever look in a mirror, they die or something." "Then if he was a vampire, he wouldn't even have one," I tell David. "Oh," David says and lays back down. A minute goes by and David pops right up again. "A werewolf," he says. "David, you're as crazy as Grandma Preston," I say, and then I'm ashamed. It's not like she wants to be. But David's excited all over again. "It figures, Marty." He looks in the mirror and sees fur and fangs, and he just goes a little crazy. The only way to find out... I know it's coming before David ever says the next word. "I'm staying at your place tomorrow night. We'll go check out Judd then, okay?" "Okay," I tell him. David don't think Judd Travers is a werewolf any more than I do. He just likes the idea of spying on him, stirring up a little excitement. I crawl back up in the top bunk and can hear David snoring after a while. I fall asleep sometime later but don't know how long it's been, 'cause all at once, middle of the night, there's this loud yell. My eyes pop open and the yell seems to hang in the air like an echo. Can't figure out where I am. The bed's smooth, not lumpy like our couch. Then I remember I'm at David Howard's, and I figure it was me who yelled. Wondered if I woke him up. The dream was so real. Dreamed I just got up out of bed and walked home. Seemed to be half light, early morning maybe, and I was hoping Ma would be up, tell me Shiloh was okay. But nobody seemed to be around, and I could see Shiloh sleeping out on the porch. Phew! I'm thinking, he's all right. Everything looks calm and natural. But just as I get close to the house, I see this long stick there in the bushes. Looks like a branch has fallen out of a tree. Maybe. And then I see it's not a stick at all. It's a gun, and it's pointed straight at Shiloh. It's the kind of dream where your legs don't move, and you yell, but no sound comes out. Except I must have made some noise, because next thing I know, I hear footsteps out in the hall, and our door clicks open. "Everything okay in here?" comes Mr. Howard's voice, real soft. "Yeah," I say. "We're okay." Mr. Howard closes the door again, and I look at the clock. 4:15. Can't wait for it to turn light so I can go check on my dog.